Now, Brian, I wanted to talk a little bit about something from way back when, you know, wind the technology clock. Now, I think, well, yeah, before you were born.
Yeah, that feels like a long time now.
We used to communicate without fiber optics.
What?
I know, right?
How would you communicate otherwise?
This is just no. How would you know?
No.
Well, okay, look, a long while back, people used to think that the only way that you could communicate from, say, one coast of the United States to the other is either via a really long copper cable,
right,
which there wasn't a whole lot of and they weren't great quality, or you bounced things off of satellites.
Okay.
Right? And that was expensive and it caused a delay.
How long ago are we thinking?
Not that long ago, actually.
50, 60 years
ago?
ago?
Go back 60 years. Go back 60 years. I mean, the technology was in its nascency, but they needed a better way to get data. Voice, television, simple packets of data from one part of the country to the next, and they didn't really have a whole lot of infrastructure in the ground. Now, there's a book that just came out that talked about the long line, and this is something that I remember from a kid, so it's great to see it again. And it's a network of microwave towers that AT&T built out way back when, back in the 50s, to essentially wire the country together.
Okay, so it was like the first kind of cell network, or?
Yeah, kind of. It used microwaves. And actually, Alex, I think you've got some pictures here from this story. He turned it into a coffee book table. You'll probably see these. These are still around today. If you go to the Mojave Desert, if you go down to Los Angeles, if you go to Santa Barbara, now they're all over the country. The initial network was created back in, I believe, 1951. It cost about $40 million. That was 63 years ago. That's a lot of money today.
Wow.
And it consisted of 107 microwave towers. That's just the first one. After that, hundreds of towers were built across the country. Now, the idea was you could go about 30 to 40 miles using microwave technology. And that microwave technology was actually kind of impressive for its time. It was two 12 to 26 decibel horns that faced each direction, you know, one for transmit, one for receive. Excuse me. Then you also were fed by multiple 25 to 35 watt analog radios using up to 12 different polarizations.
Wow, okay. These things look pretty beastly.
They are beastly. I mean, these are some of these are hundreds of feet up in the air. But you could get 30 to 40 miles in a hop. You were really only limited by the curvature of the Earth and atmospheric conditions.
Okay.
Now, it was cool for its time. This idea that you could beam at near the speed of light, voice and data on this network that you owned, and get data from one place to another without copper. Very attractive. But eventually, AT&T ran into the law of physics, which, we bring it up because this is a nice parallel to what's happening today with our wireless frequencies. You can only cram so much data, so many frequencies, before you start running out.
Right. And so we used to, well, TV was broadcast over the air. I guess that still happens. But then there's been a big fight for, like, Google and those other companies to get those frequencies.
Yeah, well, I mean, that whole digital changeover. Remember when they did that big thing of, well, we're going to stop the broadcast of analog signals and we're only going to do digital.
I remember my grandparents being very upset about it because the rabbit ears weren't going to work.
Exactly. And that's because you can cram more data into a digital channel. And they wanted to free up those wireless frequencies so they could auction them off.
Right.
And the FCC's been making a lot of money by auctioning off these frequencies, not for television or for radio, but for data, because it's all about wireless data.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing is, eventually we're going to run into the same problem that AT&T ran into. It doesn't matter how many frequencies we free up, there will never, ever be enough wireless spectrum for everything we want to run at the same time. And this is actually something we talk about a lot on one of my other shows, This Week in Enterprise Tech.
Yeah, I remember you guys talking about that. So what kind of speeds would you have gotten on those microwave towers? Like,
it's like, like 56K.
56K?
No, I mean, you could do like ISDN speeds. I mean, it wasn't high speed. But remember, back in the 50s,
I mean, that was a lot.
56K was ridiculous.
Right,
I mean, holy, how are you getting 56K? That's, yeah, I mean, you look at the frequencies that they were using, and what they were really built for was for propagation. They were long waves, so you can get a long distance. You didn't really need to push a whole lot of information over those carrier waves. Not like today. Today, we demand high speeds, lots of bandwidth, low latency.
Gotta have my data.
Gotta have my data.
So now that those are obsolete, are they doing anything with the old towers?
Oddly enough, they are. Now, they basically shut down the network in, was it I think it was 99 or 98.
Okay.
Officially. But it really had become obsolete way before then. 30 years after the network started, we were already starting to put fiber into the ground, and
Right.
you couldn't compete, and it was not economical to keep running the towers. Some of them were purchased by individuals who turned them into like vacation homes, because some of these are in beautiful areas. I mean,
Yeah.
remember, where do you want to put a tower? You want to put a tower way up high,
Yeah.
on something that has a view of a lot of things. So
Right. That's unobstructed.
yeah, that's a beautiful view if you want a vacation
Yeah.
home. Others have turned them into bomb shelters, because you saw the pictures. Some of those
Hey,
are really
like concrete boxes, yeah.
But some of them are still in operation. They've re-equipped the towers with technology that can do like wireless ISP to a small region. And
Because these are in remote locations.
remote
and stuff?
locations, and some of them are actually still using those microwave links to run as their backhaul, because they can't get fiber to where they are.
That's pretty cool.
Recycling old tech.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of
like that?
recycling old tech. That's cool, huh? Could we link up to the old microwave network and start our own like dark net or something?
You laugh, but I've got a know-how coming up in the near future.
Yeah.
There are a couple of towers on my way to my family home in Las Vegas,
And check them out.
and I flew a quadcopter next to one once, and actually it's completely dead. So.